Okay, I'm with my excellent friend, Luc Robeaudeau. I think we've known each other for close to 20 years now, I
Yeah.
think since the early 2000s. And I've just recently caught up with Luke. Glad to see that he's alive and well. And I asked him, say, whether he could answer any questions about his experiences during the pandemic, and he very graciously acquiesced. So, just kind of like generally, how what has been kind of like the major changes that you had to adjust to once lockdowns began and those kind of things.
Well, the only major change that has occurred is that, police are tending to be more sympathetic. I mean, they ask me, what are you doing? And I say, I'm doing what everyone expects me to do, social distance. And they go, okay. Whereas they can't say, move on, because when I'm by myself, as I usually am, if I move on, I can be with other, means going with other people.
Right.
Which I'm told I shouldn't be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this is advice I gladly follow because, like most homeless people, I'm a social isolate. I mean, it worked for Millville. What's the beginning of Moby Dick? Call me Ishmael, because he's by himself. He has no friends. He has no social relations of any kind that have any meaning to him until he has the experience with Queequeg of squeezing out the bubbles in the sperm. And that's when he first begins to realize that he's part of a community.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand,
Yeah.
he's a good example because when he's talking to Peleg and Queequeg about signing on, and they say, "Well, are you a member of a church?" "Yes, I'm a member of the Congregational Church." "What? I never see you going to the Congregational Church." "But the whole world is part of the same worshiping congregation. It's just he, like me, tends not to avoid." Sit in pews, talking to other people or listening to other people.
Right. But it would say, in the experiences he had on the Pequod, it seemed to be kind of like the first time where he actually felt like part of a congregation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's, the gut chapter in the whole book.
Yeah. The squeezing of hands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, has it been harder for you to find supplies, or because I remember when everyone accepted lockdown and social distancing for a bit, there was almost no one on the street except homeless people scrounging through trash cans, and I would see them in areas I wouldn't normally see them do that. So I kind of got a sense that there was a greater scarcity for supplies.
Possibly. But since I'm so poor, I can't usually afford too many supplies. On the other hand, I do rummage through trash cans because I have another friend who is having bad troubles with Social Security. They won't pay her. She's older than I am, has worked harder than I have, but she's under several names.
Ah,
She, took up at the time to avoid tax.
right.
And now the only income she has is, what I can find in terms of cans and bottles and pass on to her at 5 cents a pop. But in terms of, an income, I'm actually better off than I used to be. Because people see me and they knock me down on the street and say, "Oh, you poor homeless bum, here, take this money."
Not that you go out of your way for that. It's
No,
just
I never beg.
No.
Because, with a face like mine, what would what would you get me?
And I think you've told me that, say, where you are, you've been accepted by the police here. Was that always the case? Were they always friendly to you around here?
The police in Brea are generally well behaved toward homeless people because generally homeless people in Brea are well behaved. Whereas if you go down to Fullerton, you'll find more drunks and druggies, and the police are less respectful to them. And then if you go to Anaheim, police are worse than in Brea or in Fullerton.
Right.
And if you go to Santa Ana, police are worse than in Anaheim.
Are they especially vicious in Anaheim because not only whether they get more drug cases over there, but are they encouraged to keep homeless people away from tourists?
I haven't been in the touristy areas, but police in Anaheim have had a bad reputation for racial prejudice against Hispanics.
Yes,
And,
yeah.
but again, yeah, Orange County has been for a long time run by conservative Anglos. So, Anaheim police have had that reputation. Orange police have had that reputation.
Right.
And been rebuked for it in the courts. Sheriff's Department has had that reputation. And thank God I never had anything to do with sheriff's departments.
Right.
When police approach me and say, "What are you doing?" I can say, "I'm keeping social distance," which is a reasonable, polite, and honest answer.
Yes.
Whereas if I were visibly drunk or psychotic or foul-mouthed, I probably wouldn't get the good treatment.
Right. Yeah, I there used to be a guy I would see around maybe about 10 years ago who was, visibly disturbed. And on a bus, I was on the bus with him and we were heading into the downtown Brea area. And he had what looked like maybe a knife or a makeshift kind of knife in his hand that he was wielding through the air, not against anyone, but it was certainly something very unusual to see in Brea. And I talked to you about it, and he says, "Oh, he'll be picked up before the day's out." Yeah.
Because he simply stands out. Irvine
Yeah.
is a very homogeneous area, and they're very bad. Not only to homeless people, but even to working class people. You don't want to be seen walking in Irvine because they assume if you haven't got enough money to buy a car, you don't belong in our town. Thank you. Generally, the police are like anybody else. They're reacting to the vectors that impose upon them. If on the one hand you have property owners or employers saying, "Be a bastard to everybody who's not working for us," and on the other hand, you have say, homeless people who are congregating in order to try and get handouts or who are panhandling, then you get police who are mean.
Right.
But if you get, fewer homeless people, because Brea isn't well known for having large numbers of feeds to give food to homeless people, then the vector on the police is less antagonistic.
I see.
Well, as a Catholic, we would say that in this mortal world, nothing is perfect.
Right.
And therefore, no one is perfectly evil, even though they want to be.
Right. Obviously, there are a lot of people who are not taking the pandemic seriously enough.
And a lot of people are going into the store without their masks.
Yes, a lot of people. Yeah.
And why are they allowed to do this?
Precisely.
The store has got this plethora of signs saying no one admitted without a mask.
And
but you can't make very much money by throwing out your customers.
Right.
If a man wants to come into the store and spread the virus and also spread, pocket change, what store is going to stop him?
Right. But I know that you yourself don't go out of your way to mix with people. But does it still pose a danger to you or to other homeless people if this is happening? Say, does that make you in any way more vulnerable while that is happening?
The danger to homeless people is that they can be picked up and thrown into a shelter.
Yes.
Because in the shelter you're spreading diseases. There's lack of ventilation, lack of adequate hot water. You're basically in a group of disease spreaders.
Okay.
So isolation is just the wonderful policy.
But you're fairly self-sufficient. There are a lot of homeless people out there who don't seem to have as good of kind of like an environment and system of sustaining your existence here like you do.
And guess what? This is America, the land of individualism. So I see all these people who are in more need than I am, and I don't care. I mean, read Shakespeare. Because they forgot to pay the mercenaries, Alcibiades is now leading an army against Athens, and Timon is appealed to because he's supposedly a rich man, and said, "Well, if Alcibiades sacks our city, tell them I don't care, and if he lays waste our senators and slits all their throats, I don't care."
So you were before we began this conversation. You said that a lot of people have been coming up to you during the holidays to sell you Jesus.
These are people who have been trained told by their friends and relatives that they're worthless. Why are they worthless? You don't have any money. That's the one absolute proof of worthlessness in America.
Right.
In America. You don't have any money. And therefore, they need something to make them feel good. So, they get Jesus. Jesus takes care of all their problems. He guarantees that they're worthwhile people. And therefore, they're freed of any need to become actual worthwhile people. They don't need to help anybody. They don't even need to open the doors for old ladies, because Jesus is guaranteed to be a worthwhile person in spite of what they're doing. And, these are the kind of people who insist on forcing Jesus on you. I've always thought that Billy Graham was about the lowest form of Christianity, because he's absolutely anti-intellectual, non-intellectual.
Yeah.
But Billy Graham doesn't go out and force himself on you. He waits in his tent for you to come in all by yourself.
Right.
You have to volunteer to listen to Billy Graham. But these people, don't give you a chance to volunteer. They don't want you to volunteer, because they're volunteering him for you.
Right.
But this will pass off. After the holiday season, people will go back to being bastards. You can, I suppose, be an evangelist. We've always been told that the Catholic Church is a universal organization. There's room for everybody.
Right.
Some people are Franciscans, some people are Benedictines, some people are Jesuits. There's even room for Simon Stylites standing up on top of his pillar doing nothing.
Right.
But, if you want to evangelize, the best way to do it is not to walk, in my opinion, is not to walk up to somebody and say, I'm going to heaven and you're going to hell because you don't have Jesus. The passage in the Bible is also, faith without works is dead. If you want to evangelize, start feeding people.
Right.
Offer them shelters. Pass out blankets. That is more Christian than standing on a street corner, ringing your bell, and collecting money for the Salvation Army. Let's face it, you can go down to Fullerton College, and and in their various competing Christian fellowships, you can find people who would say, but you're not a Christian, you're a Catholic.
Yeah.
If you were a Christian, you'd call yourself a Christian, but you call yourself a Catholic. That means you're not one of us.
Yeah, I think there's also, isn't it in the Matthew Gospel, where you have absolutely no idea who is going to be in heaven, and it's not the people who are just saying Lord, Lord, Lord.
And but these are the people that go up to St. Peter,
Yeah.
and there's Christ there, and says, "Who are you? I've never seen you before in my life. Depart from me."
That's right. When I was in prison, did you comfort me?
Yep.
Yeah. When I was hungry, did you feed me? Yeah.
Or again, in Dante, Purgatorio, there's a soul of a man who killed in battle, and Dante is surprised at meeting him. He says, I thought you were an atheist. What are you doing here in purgatory? And the corpse, or the soul of the dead, goes, but don't you understand? There is no act of a priest or a bishop or a pope that can keep you out of heaven if God wants you.
Right.
If you make a valid contrition and accept, the Lord, even on your deathbed, God will take you. It's the hypocrites who are walking around in Inferno with the lead coats.
Right.
That you've got to worry about. Even Donald Trump is not completely evil.
No.
If on his deathbed he looks in the mirror and says, "Oh Lord, forgive me, I repent all of the actions that I've ever committed."
Right, genuinely.
They're all sins of some kind or other.
Right.
And if the Lord finds him really sincere, the Lord can accept even him into purgatory. I don't expect that will happen, and I wouldn't bet on it, but the Lord is mightier than I am. If he wants to accept Donald Trump, I can't stop him.
Yeah, I think this is something to be joyous about. It's not our job to make these kinds of calls.
Exactly, because people are no wiser than I am.
Right.
They're capable of fucking up. I'm capable of fucking up.
Yeah.
Donald Trump is capable of fucking up. We are told the Lord is not capable of fucking up. On the other hand, we're also told, God didn't make no junk, but Donald Trump exists.
Therefore, there has to be, say, something not entirely junky about him.
Yeah,
Or,
again,
yeah, potentially, anyway.
nothing on earth is
Yeah.
perfectly evil.
That's right. All right. Well, thank you so much for answering some of my questions, Luke. And maybe we'll do this again sometime.